Welcome back to Authentically Connected. I'm so glad you're all here, and I'm so glad to welcome my friend Jen Schneeman. Jen, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here amidst the books, the crystals, the raspberries, Lyric, the cat, and our hot tea on this gray day. It feels quite bright.
I feel the same way. Thank you for showing up with raspberries. I mean, showing up in general, but showing up with raspberries and some incense. That was like, soul sister, you're speaking my language. It really just feels so nice to be sitting in shared energy with you right now. That in and of itself feels very grounding. You have been a wonderfully grounding presence. So I think just seeing you and being with you helps a lot. I keep thinking about the imagery of roots growing out of our feet into the ground, to the center of the earth.
Yeah.
I love that. It feels so soothing to my nervous system. So I think I'm growing roots right now.
Lovely.
I welcome you to do the same.
Oh, they're there. They're descending, and there are many constructs out there of how to really ground and root. And I love the additional grounding cord from the base of the spine. It's just a different purpose and just anchors us from our safety center, from the base of our spine all the way through the grass, through the rock, through the soil, through the crystals, through the fire, to the core. And so then the feet can do their function of drawing up that earth energy. And our grounding cord can discharge the old energy, so it just starts to loop through. I can start to feel that now, just drawing up from those little roots and flushing out the grounding cord. And sometimes if I'm thinking about, like, okay, this is like a toilet, we're just getting rid of it. And other times it's just a stream. So it just kind of meets the energy of the moment.
That feels really nice to my system. It is really settling of all the nervous energy, anxious energy, performative energy that can just flow right out and make space for whatever's going to show up for us today. So I wonder if we could initiate and welcome our listeners into our relationship by helping them get to know you a little bit. I've been sharing a lot about myself in recent episodes, and I feel like hearing about you and where you came from, how you got to be who and where you are today is such a huge question and topic. But let's just see what shows up. What are the highlights that are worth noting?
Just following that impulse of what comes to mind, I think Lyric, the cat, being here is right, because I feel like it was about 8.5 lives before I met you. Definitely solid careers that have all intersected. Authentically Connected is such a striking concept to me, because that's what was missing in my life. I had all of these connections and developments and wisdom and purpose-driven projects, and yet they were disparate from one another. And I often felt like I was living a duality. And I was. And I would laugh because my science side was out front and my spiritual side was in the back, behind closed doors. And I just never saw the pathway through really to weave them. But I craved it. And I know that my soul craved it. And, this soul-driven scientist really is what drives me, because I believe in the power of both. And I think that both are really supportive of one another. Celebrating the experience of many, many different lives before we met one another. What comes to mind, my first job was making coffee for Gloria Jean. So I love, because we met over coffee.
Yes,
so
we
that
did.
feels really relevant to say that I do love processes. I love systems. I love understanding how things work, and especially how our human works. Because where are we taught? When are we taught? We're typically taught when something is going wrong. But what if we flip that script and talk about our humanness and rehumanize the way that we emote, the way understanding our natural processes? And there's such a tendency to pathologize. But what about just the human condition and the broad spectrum of experience?
Yeah, that is certainly what you've brought into my life and opened my eyes to. It was not accessible to me. I didn't know what I didn't know, what I was missing. And just meeting you, you were introduced to me as a meditation coach,
Oh,
meditation teacher, which I loved and I was fascinated. And then I have been referring to you, in addition to as my friend, as my nervous system coach. People are like, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, I don't know how to describe all of the wonderful things that you've taught me. And so that's the category I think I've put them into. But before that, you've done some really interesting things. Can you talk a little bit about your background with science and with the military?
Sure. It feels funny to say that I was treading water, eating a sandwich, and drinking a beer when I received a phone call saying, hey, would you like to work at DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency in the Defense Sciences Office? And I was between that and the World Bank of my first career job living in DC. I graduated from undergrad in Chicago the next day, jumped in the car with a U-Haul and drove to DC, knowing that I would get a job. I was going there, I was focused. I didn't know what it was going to be or where I was going to land. But again, interested in how things work. So trusting, but also with maybe some naivete, It's all going to work out. After all, I can go back to fine dining. Serving is what was the mantra in my head at that time. So this is in 2002, right after 9/11. And I said basically the research arm of the Defense Department, where I managed a $250 million budget right off the rip. Really, it was dual use technology. So it was both military use and humanitarian. We know what was happening at that time. Things were getting really confusing, hot. Our planet was really in chaos. And looking at the world from a science perspective, it was like, how do you bring technology and tools to people who are making change? And that's what I've always done and continue to do. But managing this $250 million budget and working with Nobel laureates, just the top tier scientists across the world, catapulted me into this realm of what was possible. So a lot of the work that we did was it was bio-inspired science. So looking at my favorite thing, nature, and looking at biology and gathering inspiration from nature and understanding how to develop technologies that emulated nature for sensors, for prosthetics. A lot of that technology led to understanding neurodegenerative diseases. Today, there's so much behind that. It was a wild time. And that is also when I started realizing my coping skills were rather poor. And because we were nonstop, we were just working nonstop around the clock and very much in a critical time. And I realized that I was taking on a lot of other people's energy. I don't know that I had the words nailed at that time, but I realized that I walked out of holding a lot more energy than other people did. Dun, 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 the sponge, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as you're coping, wasn't feeling like it was keeping pace, like how did you manage that? What did you do to deal with that?
Really, two things, martinis and yoga. That was my jam back in 2002. And that balance, again, that duality, almost a contradiction. Yeah, like a living contradiction. That felt in some ways very connecting and also in other ways disconnecting. So there is another podcast side story of how I left DC, but I did, and I ended up in Dayton, Ohio, working at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the Human Performance Wing. And at that time, I was, again, working with this multi-dimensional, multidisciplinary team that all came together to answer some really important questions, but it was all based on looking at biology and how to utilize it for defense technology. That was the tagline. Yes. Harnessing biology for defense technology. Makes me want to puke a little now when I say it, but I mean, it's also very mission driven. It's a little unsettling thinking about that now in today's time. However, we did some really cool stuff too. Important things. And how did that really come about? There was so much happening in the world of like traumatic brain injury, PTSD. I was working in this epigenetics program that brought me to Cincinnati. It was, again, a multidisciplinary program, but it was an epigenetics program looking to see how diet, nutrition, disease, injury, stress impacted individuals differently and made them more susceptible or more resistant to future stressors. So it's like a real epigenetics program. And we were seeing this at the micro level, at the cellular level. Meanwhile, people are coming back. We're seeing the long-term effects at that point, since like 2009, the long-term effects of untreated PTSD, untreated TBI. And since I had a lived experience with both, like, what is the mechanism of action of these things that have been working for me? Of the yoga, of the meditation, of the movement, of moving energy. So that's when because of the forces of working for a narcissist and being in a toxic work environment afforded me the ability to leave. I ended up working for my own business. I started my own company back in 2010. And I consulted back to the government at that time in biotechnology, commercialization, but also complementary alternative medicine. So that is what really started to braid these two different lives. Yeah.
That's fascinating. And when you went out on your own and you were focused on giving back to them this complementary alternative medicines, what were those at the time? And like, how did you come to know those?
Great question. At the time, it was mostly mindfulness, mostly breath work, some meditation. I also was working for this Columbus-based company that we were kind of part of a tiger team where they expanded rapidly and we were just given a lot of money to go do cool stuff. And so I was looking at just the importance of integrative medicine in general. And that was where, like, okay, this is what I'm interested in. This is where I'm going to put my energy. And how this background really opened the door for me to have conversations with important people in the right places at the VA and through my training with mindful yoga therapy and my own personal healing as a yoga instructor, and then becoming a yoga therapist, pursuing somatic experiencing, relational trauma therapy, different trainings along the way. I'm going to back up to mindful yoga therapy. I was able to bring and study, because of grants, be able to study the efficacy of complementary alternative medicine, therapeutic yoga in PTSD residential programs, in TBI residential programs, and look at it alongside like cognitive processing therapy and prolonged exposure. So that just felt right. I was in the right place.
Totally. And what did you find when you were looking at the efficacy of the yoga therapy alongside those other kinds of therapy for PTSD? How did that turn out?
The studies were great. I was able to publish them and present them rather at International Society of Traumatic Stress and American Academy of Health Behavior. We found that the therapies, the interventions rather, were effective at reducing perceived stress and a number of things. But the qualitative impact was just huge. Well, and the other thing that I found is that it was also the therapist, the workforce that was experiencing the same stress. And so, like, okay, this is very interesting to me. So I pursued another grant to write the self-care and resilience program. That was back in 2016, and study it, working with veterans, working with community-based mental health, and a couple other different organizations, because the burnout was real, or burnout is real, and the secondary trauma is real. The compassion fatigue or empathy fatigue, we can debate which it is. That was interesting to me because it was something that I was experiencing myself again. And I was like, what the heck? I changed military emblems. I was under the Department of Defense, and then I was under the Air Force. I had changed relationships, got a divorce, left toxic relationships, environments behind in general. And I was still burning out. Like, what's up? It's not DC, it's not Dayton, it's not this relationship. What is it? I'm living aligned with my purpose. I feel that, but why am I still being impacted? So lo and behold, I knew something was missing from that SCAR program, even when I tested it, because even from that, I was still experiencing the fatigue. And it took me a bit of time, like 3 years, but I said, what's missing? And I said it out loud, like, what's missing? And then I found out through my own experience of a huge break. It was just like, oh my gosh, what's missing was the energy. What I had been keeping behind closed doors, right? Or in small communities, like, I need to bring and weave in the energy through the wisdom of the nervous system and really talk about the energetic field from a perspective of our energy bodies, physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, intellectual energy, spiritual energy, all of that, and how it's authentically connected. Oh, goosebumps.
I have them too.
And energetic boundaries, and how we need to really, as caregivers, as helping professionals, as peers, professionals, it's like our ethical duty, I believe, to tend to our energetic body, to clear that residue. But also it applies to all humans, not just us working in and around trauma all day.
Hear, hear. I want to just acknowledge that I think because you figured out the energy piece was missing and you opened it up, you not only probably opened channels for yourself, but that is certainly what happened to me when I did your SCAR course, right? Energy
I'll say
was
more.
not, yeah, I will. Energy was not on my radar at all. I remember doing the course and the experience of rubbing our hands together to get the energy going and then creating a ball of energy that we could play with, and getting more hands-on with it helped to conceptualize it in a way that I could connect more with. But I do think I learned a lot about it from the course itself, and it gave me this foundation to continue playing with it over time. And now it is a huge part of my daily practice in so many different ways, which I do want to come back to because I want to actually maybe now.
Yeah. So the foundation, kind of like back to that image we had when we were grounding, like that foundation, where did it grow from there?
Okay, let me sit for a moment. I want to answer your question by starting with this wellness wheel.
Oh, yeah.
From your SCAR course workbook, you created this wellness wheel, which has all of these different aspects of wellness. So nervous system, hydration, nutrition, community, spirituality, environment, mindset, breath, restoration. There's more. I don't want to give it all away, but I also do, kind of. And movement. But energy was not something I had ever considered before. I didn't understand that it was something I had been experiencing already, picking up other people's energy, but also then passing on that energy in ways that I didn't mean to. And so just being able to tune into the fact that this is a thing that matters. We can ignore it all we want, but it is affecting me, it's affecting you, it's affecting us in relationship to one another. So just tuning in and knowing this needs to be on my radar because I'm burning out too. I'm feeling completely disconnected in a lot of ways as well. And so it was so useful that it was a part of the wellness wheel, that it was just built into, you need to at least notice, pay attention, or don't, but know that that's affecting you. And that felt like it gave me a foundational, well, what a foundation is. It gave me a starting point to explore more. And then in what has become my natural way now, I opened it up to the universe. Whoever showed up, whoever I connected with, something about energy was said, or it made me think about something and start to research. And all these connections happened very organically to ways to protect my energy, ways to set boundaries, and also share energy in healthy ways. It's sounding to me in this moment a little amorphous, like, what do we mean? What does this actually mean? But I don't know. It's a little hard to talk about it without feeling it.
And I love that because that's the experiential, we can take it from awareness to cognition and knowing, and then we experience it. But as we sit with it and really experience it, then we embody it. And so I'm curious if we could go back to when you talk about that you had been experiencing it, you knew it.
Yeah.
Is there a pivotal moment that comes to mind when you realized that your energy was either being siphoned or that you were a sponge prior to this work?
I can probably name a handful of pivotal periods of my life. My mind first went back to what it was like when I was a kid, and I didn't like what was for dinner. I didn't have any sovereignty around my body, and I felt big feelings, and I don't think those were all mine. Now, I would imagine now I was also just absorbing the energy that was in the space around me and didn't know what to do with it. And fast forward to being an adult and taking responsibility for the lives of the little ones who I helped create, who are my responsibility, who have big feelings too, rightfully so. I had to help them deal with their feelings, their discomfort in their body, while also dealing with my own.
And it sounds like you also gave them a space to feel their feelings so they could feel them. They knew that was part of their experience.
Yes, that has been a very important piece. And they would say probably to their detriment because they're tired of hearing about feelings, emotions,
Oh,
emotions
Mom.
bad.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But what was so interesting is the other night I heard my older daughter talking about the plot of a book she was reading and her level of insight around what each one was thinking and feeling and what was going on under the surface. And I'm like, you know what? You clearly are able to read a room.
Literate, emotionally literate humans, right?
That is exactly what I have been raising. And maybe it's a little too much sometimes, but honestly, they're learning from a young age that boundaries are okay, that feelings are important and natural, but also we got to set appropriate boundaries to protect our energy. And I didn't know how to do that as a mom for a long time.
As a mom, as a business owner, as a therapist transitioning practice, there was a lot of moving parts, and you had a vision.
I did. I had a vision to find more balance.
Yes.
And you introduced me to the idea of having an energy leak. Where are the spots in your system, physical, emotional, energetic, where things are flowing out of you that you don't want them to? That was brand new. And I was still in my old practice then, seeing many people a day, not having any energy when I came home. And I played around with it for a while, trying to protect my energy, trying to replenish my energy throughout the day. And no amount of playing around got me to a point where I could feel balanced when I left there at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that helped me recognize that the position I was in was a part of the reason that I couldn't hold on to my energy.
And the amount of effort to replenish, to restore, to hold it together, right? I hear that often in the conferences that I present at and people that I speak with, that it's the amount of energy itself required to hold the armor or hold the boundary or to shield or whatever it is. It's enormous and it's cumulative, right? So even if we have a ritual at the end of the day, how much accumulates by the time we get home. And what I hear you share is that you are recognizing not only the initial energy give, but the secondary energy to maintain all that. Yes. Yeah. To replenish it is just, who has time for that?
Nobody. I wanted to read back a quote to you from this that I just loved.
Okay.
Which is, real resilience is the ability to reset in the moment, recharge throughout the day, and recover appropriately at the end of the day.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. Did you write that?
Yeah.
Yes. Good. I'm glad you agree with yourself.
Yeah. It's still true. Still aligned.
Yeah. How resilient do you feel now compared to when you first created the SCAR program?
So, interesting question. Haven't really reflected broadly on it. It's more day to day. How resilient do I feel? Gosh, I mean, I moved 33 times growing up. So resilience has always been just the backbone of what I was supposed to be. So in the theme Authentically Connected, Authentically Resilient is that I did that resilience with no feelings, right? I did that. You just bootstrapped. You just did it. You just showed up for the next school and over and over and over again, right? 7 schools in 9 years. It's just what I did. I don't harbor any ill will towards that time, but I realized what was missing was emotions. And so fast forward, to me, like real resilience, real human performance isn't perfection. It's really understanding, how am I feeling myself? Like, I'm going to reference Loretta Ross and her book Calling In, like really to call ourselves in first. And like, how am I feeling? Checking with that self-assessment, especially when we have matching pictures with clients or patients or just other humans. What stirs, what gets activated? And so to have that real-time resilience of how am I feeling in this moment, tending to it in the moment, letting that energy move through to continue to have this conversation where instead of leaning on those other parts, like recognizing when the parts come up, right?
Yes.
And saying hello to them, recognizing where we brace, where we hold, and physically, mentally, emotionally brace and hold. Physically, mentally, emotionally leak energy is the real-time resilience. And so every day in every way, I'm feeling more and more resilient, more aligned. Some people can say I might take it too far, but everything's a learning lesson.
You're taking
There
it
are
too far.
There are no mistakes. I don't think that there are any mistakes. It's just if we're not learning from them. But just even if things don't go my way, quote unquote, I might feel a certain way about them, but I'm also moving through it as part of the experience because that's what's happening.
Yeah. Resilience is something that was expected of you in a certain way back then. And now it sounds like resilience for you is more, it is whole body, whole wellness wheel. Every single part of it is accessible and included in that resilience.
Yes. Yes. And I'll add that back in 2016, when what was missing, the energy part, really bringing in the authentic piece of science, the nervous system, and energy, and weaving those together. I also learned a lot about myself from that time. I could cry right now because I was trying to hold it all together. So the enormous energy to keep a facade, like everything's cool. I got it. I got this, the illusion of perfection and rigidity in the nervous system. That what I've welcomed, the real resilience is the flexibility of the nervous system. And I learned that deeply in 2019 and continued to refine the SCAR program and open it up and have the workbooks and the programs and the videos and just the accessible process. Just put my process out there.
Thank goodness you did.
Mm.
Thank you so much. This program helped me tune into myself in ways that I didn't have access to before. It created the safe space to play, to try, to explore, to connect, because it was this online community that you created.
What did open up? Because we have always loved play and color and things, but will you share more about the energy that just flowed through, how it opened up space and what you filled in that space?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was doing a lot of reflecting through this workbook in preparation for you to come. And I'm reading all the things I wrote at those times. And what I'm seeing is how much judgment I had towards myself for the ways that I was trying to cope. And this will not be new for my listeners because this came up when I talked to Ariel too. This judgment around, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this better. I've got many, many pieces, moving parts, and I know I'm capable of just these parts of me that are trying to help me cope in unhealthy ways, but just get out of the way. And I am coming back to this beautiful quote that is from you, and I don't know if it's from you originally, but what's in the way is the way.
Mary Oliver, I believe.
Well, thanks to you.
It's also very Jedi, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it really is. And because every time I would feel like I wasn't doing it right, I would turn back towards, oh, look, hello, judgment. Hello, parts of me who think I'm supposed to be some kind of way at this point. Even though I am actively helping other people, it's do as I say, not as I do, because right now I'm drowning. I felt like I was drowning a bit. Not every minute of every day, but just drowning in the struggle and then not liking how I was handling the struggle. And so what this did was allow me to break it down, but also start to hold space, even just the language you use, Jen. Like you show up in a way that allows for whatever anyone is showing up with at any given time to be okay. And that is so soothing, I think, to my nervous system. It was something I was offering to others and I was not at all doing for myself. And so you allowed me to take that, internalize it, work through some of the tools that I needed, right? If you're going to take away things that are meant to help you cope, but maybe aren't helping as much, what are you going to replace it with? So I have a booklet full of all these wonderful things. And obviously we try different things and some stick more and some stick less. I do want to talk at some point about some of these amazing tools.
Can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Because I think what I hear is that it's the framework for you to come forward. Right? Like, because I didn't come up with all of these ideas that you're about to share, but it's the framework for you to authentically put together all these pieces, all these brilliant nodes, all these little bits, and have a framework of understanding them. Yeah.
That's exactly what it felt like. Yes, you created the container, not just the container, but the scaffolding within the container to be able to take stock of where I was and slowly evolve, because it was 12 weeks every Wednesday evening for this period of time, There was consistency in the showing up and the space, in the exercises to do in the meantime, and just then no matter what I showed up with, it was okay. And as we progressed towards the end of the program and got to the energy piece, that was when I started to tune into how I was holding energy in my body in a way that was actually probably getting in the way of other things more than I realized. I already knew that sometimes I would feel anxious and it didn't seem to be my anxiety, or I would feel jittery, and it was because someone just walked into the room who had those jitters. And that I got. What I didn't understand, and I talked a little bit in the past about, but we can unpack more now, is that the throat block.
Yes.
Whose throat block is it, was the question you asked me, because you had us ask. I just love this exercise so much, and I've shared it with other people as well.
Great.
Asking your system, show me what a yes feels like,
Mm-hmm.
and then show me what a no feels like. That was brand new. But to be able to, and I was already doing parts work, but to be able to ask not a specific part, but your whole nervous system to engage with you in a conversation like that was so cool. And it opened my eyes not only to the block that I was feeling in my throat, but the fact that I could connect more actively with my nervous system. I don't even think active is the word. More just to be more connected to the information that was coming and going in there.
Sounds collaborative.
Yeah, to collaborate exactly with my nervous system so that she can share information with me, that when she gives me information, I'm going to act on it. I'm going to take it in. I'm not going to ignore it. And that feels
huge. Different.
Yeah.
Right? Because if all those other parts, if they would just get out of the way, right? Versus what I hear you say now, like, is that collaborating and hearing the message doesn't mean doing exactly what, but just considering it, right?
Yeah.
Hearing it.
Yeah.
Including it, and then using your discernment, your other wisdom, your other intelligence centers to decide, right? We had that model, the ABCs, to move through the energy of awareness back to choice and then decision, and to move that energy where it felt like it was signaling to us, and then where it might have been stuck.
Absolutely. And the ABCs were actually on my list to bring up. So why don't we do that now? What does that stand for?
We can flow through that. I'm also curious about the energy that's been flowing through your creativity. So I would love to just keep that as a possibility.
Duly noted.
Okay. Because we have 3 days for this podcast, right?
Yeah, we're going to be here a while.
So the ABCs, it's a model that I first created when I was working with pre-deployment and post-deployment troops. Brought it to the NFL teams that I was working with. It's to anchor ourselves, awareness of something has changed in the energy. Something about this has changed, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, just something's changed. Could be us walking into a new room. Could be we're sending a new email. Could be so many things, right? Yeah. But something's new here. There's new information, new potential. And how do we ground ourselves through the 5 anchors: body, base, breath, brain, and boundary? We always have that first signal. Maybe it's an indicator, like, oh, I can just breathe again. Or maybe it's I'm breathing shallow. I've been holding my breath. We talk about that one often, just holding our breath. That becomes the clue. And so maybe it's just the awareness there is enough to move us back to choice of, do I want to hold my breath? Because you can, right? You can keep on holding your breath if you want to. So it's the choice, that autonomy, the agency of, I'm going to breathe again, or I'm going to take that deep breath without overriding it, without overriding that signal. Or do I need more support? What happens? Maybe it's I notice my self-talk first, and then I realize that I've lost my feet, I've lost my ground. So it's a clue in to where we're experiencing the energy, and also the tools to support the energy to move through. And what I love about this model that's helped me the most is that it's dual purpose. Back to that dual use technology, it's like it helps us to stay anchored during times of stress, strain, and discomfort. And it's also the same tools to flip, other side of the coin, to be anchored, to really be present during times of joy, to really soak it up and let those pathways also be known. So like tending to our triggers and also building up our resilience at the same time. Science supports that, right? We know now more than ever how important it is to both tend to the triggers and, as Deb Dana says, the glimmers.
The glimmers.
Yes.
Yes. I've been doing a deep dive on Deb Dana lately.
Yes.
All things nervous system and polyvagal theory. I love what you just said, tending to the triggers while also building up resilience
Right.
at the same time. And that's such a wonderful way to describe what it felt like I was doing when I was actively in the program, and bringing it with me since, using some of these tools to be able to use those ABCs of presence. Awareness is much higher for me now than it used to be. I tune into small shifts in my nervous system, little, not just aches and pains, but also a jump in my heart or a shift in my belly, because that tells me just tune in. And then I get to choose which of the B's, body, base, breath. Breath is so often naturally what I go to now. That was not how it was in the past. It has felt so nurturing for parts of me that they just automatically reach for it now. I don't have to try all the time like I did before. So it's just nice to know that
you don't have to try as hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just happens now. And then getting back to that choice. I have a choice here. The breath.
I have choice. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I have choice.
I have choice. Because so much is feeling, especially this day and age, so much feels like it's not up to us. So coming back to, actually, there's lots up to me right now. In fact, I can choose anything from this menu. And so it's just really nice to feel that autonomy, agency. That's the word. I have a sense of agency that I didn't have before. So thank you for explaining the ABCs.
Do you want to ground that anymore? I just have this impulse to ask about, I don't know why, but motherhood comes to mind. About asking like how that shows up in even mothering, because I know it's an everyday thing over here. So
Ditto.
how about for you?
Yeah. When you just said mothering, my whole system like clenched a little, which tells me that's where we should go.
All right.
Because I don't shy away from that. I actually lean into it because it feels hard lately. There's some really beautiful moments that I try to savor, and some glimmers of progress in terms of shifting away from dysregulation in myself, in my kids, in my household, and trying to shift into a space of tuning in, helping them tune in, helping me ground myself, to use those ABCs to be able to recognize when I am reactive, because my child came home from Girl Scouts the other night full of energy, and it was good energy, but then it turned into other energy, right? So that is then mine to help her through. And in the past, before I understood about nervous systems, and I knew it was my job to stay calm as the adult, but actually understanding that at a nervous system level allowed me to shift away from, why the hell can't I stay calm? Why can't I get myself into a regulated
What's wrong with
state?
me that I can't? Oh, that was my words.
Yeah. I'm the adult. It's my job, right?
Yep.
And if I can't, how is she supposed to? And that added extra
And
pressure
how am I
and
feeling? What's happening? Oh, how are they going to turn out? Yeah. Goes off fast.
Oh, yeah. And all of that will be because I couldn't keep myself calm. A lot of pressure.
So be perfect.
Yeah. Oh, there's that perfectionism theme again.
Hello.
Yeah. So now, because of the ABCs and because I've been at this for a while, there are moments that are just a loss, and I can make the repair later, but the moment has passed for me to regulate myself. We just all need to kind of go our separate ways for a few minutes.
Space.
Yeah, space, exactly. Which stands for?
The way we use it?
Yes, I love space for you.
Harken back to the government days, the good acronym. Space is we co-create space. We create space. We understand our space and its safety, predictability, and control of our environment, our inner environment, and our external environment. And we recognize when we have it and what we can do to create it.
Yeah. I have more space inside than I used to have because my parts make space and there is a spaciousness, but taking literal space away from one another in order to create more safety, predictability, and control so that we can calm ourselves, come back together. Yeah. My whole family does that more readily now because we've been practicing. We've been practicing regulating, practicing making repairs when we engage from a dysregulated state. which happens
Yeah.
multiple times every single day.
Yep.
That is our normal.
That's real life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not the perfect nervous system. It's the flexible one. And that repair that I love, you said, you make space for repair. It sounds like offering each other permission to be real, authentic.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. My children will grow up
Yeah.
having heard an adult apologize to them many, many, many times.
gold.
But I don't want it to become like, well, she can just apologize so she can say and do whatever she wants, right? I put a lot of effort into taking responsibility for the things that I am not doing well, can do better, while also holding boundaries. And I think sometimes it can be hard because from the outside, it may look like boundaries are not being held when I'm doing this boundary setting in an emotionally and nervous system attuned way. For example, last night,
Yeah, please.
there was a lot of dysregulation going on at bedtime, and it was escalating. And I was escalating.
You're joining in with it. Oh, yes, been
Yeah.
there.
Uh-huh. And once I calmed down and I was able to get back into a space where I felt safe and I felt open to connecting, then I was able to stay present for what was needed.
What did you do for you last night? What did you do for yourself? What was the medicine last night?
I took some space. I breathed. I put on binaural beats for her because changing the energy in the room was needed. And then when I felt calmer, I was able to connect in with compassion for how hard she was struggling in that moment. I didn't have access to compassion when she was screaming at me at the top of her lungs.
Yeah.
But once I could remove myself from that space, feel the compassion, and then I could go and just hold space. She didn't want me to touch her, but I could just be near her until she was ready. But she was still struggling with the feelings, the emotion. And once she was ready to come to me, I could tell that that was soothing. But her nervous system was so far gone at that point, she needed more. So I went and got a tuning fork.
Oh, fun.
I hit the tuning fork a couple times. I held it next to her ear for the vibration, held it on the top of her head for the vibration, and on her chest. And that was it. That was, I think, the last piece that helped her nervous system shift into a safer space. And that was it. No more dysregulation. I'm not saying that fixed it, but the combination, I think, of these external, the tuning fork, the binaural beats, mom wasn't yelling anymore. In fact, mom felt calm and safe. That all helped her come back to regulation and fall asleep.
Can I pull on like this little thread of wisdom I hear too?
Please.
Is that it doesn't sound like you went to the binaural beats, went to the tuning fork to fix it. You know, you mentioned like that it wasn't X, Y, or Z that fixed it. But I feel like this in the spaciousness of just holding the space, just being there, the letting her borrow your nervous system.
Yeah.
Go check yourself, come back, let her borrow your nervous system. But it's not like we're doing those things to fix it. It's just that you also have some tools. You can be there to hold the space, and knowing, being attuned with her of when it was really appropriate and what was appropriate, that discernment to shift the energy. It wasn't such a wild shift. It wasn't, the word aggressive comes to mind. It wasn't an aggressive shift.
Yeah.
How does that resonate with you? That was just what I'm feeling through this.
Yeah, I appreciate you reflecting that back. It's incredibly helpful to pull on that thread because as you were saying that felt really true. And it reminded me of how many years I spent reaching for these tools to fix. This is newer for me and for us to be able to practice this in a way that is about holding space, attuning to, and letting her borrow my nervous system. Because before it was just all about, I'm thinking back to when my youngest was younger and there was a lot of tantrums and honestly screaming. She was picking up all of our energy, or especially during COVID. And that was how it was manifesting. And then the whole family was extra dysregulated because her dysregulation, like we couldn't join. And so it was, how do we get it to stop? How do we get the screaming to stop?
Stop this.
Yeah.
Yes. Stop the chaos.
Yeah. Anything to protect our nervous systems. I can see now that because I was using those tools then as ways to fix, but I wasn't getting at the root or fully even understanding the root of what was happening, of course they didn't feel effective. Or it worked this time, but why not that time?
Right. So that I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that that's so important in talking about these nervous system tools. It's like a missing piece, and breathwork has forever been my go-to since I was a little girl. And it's just something I naturally did. In the bathtub, when I took my space and I would stay in there and do these practices, I was like 7, 8 years old, doing these, what I know now to be advanced breath practices and vagal toning. And it's just, we have that wisdom, right? We have that wisdom in us. And I have the knowledge now of what I was doing then, and just find it really sweet. At the same time, always been tuned into breath work and being a breath coach. I remember training this one NFL team and coming into the room with, 200 people and using my breath to override the feels, right? And so that was my experience. And I think it was like 2014, 2015 of realizing I was actually doing secondary, more damage to my nervous system. I was just trying to fix it. I didn't really give us a time, the pause to be with it. I was just trying to get it to be cool.
Yeah, be cool.
Be cool, Jen. Come on. You got to take the floor and command these 250 men. Be cool, keep it together, right? And show that you're not phased. But really, it went fine, right? It went great. And at the same time, I realized the secondary effects of overriding the nervous system with this breath work. And so now it's kind of like a soapbox that I like to stand on. And at trauma-informed conferences, or just conferences in general with therapists. So breath work is it's indicated and contraindicated. These tools are indicated and contraindicated. Like, what is the nuance? There's a lot of nuance. So I'll just pause there.
Yeah. Oh, I really appreciate you naming that, because the same thing, you're right, the same thing that can help us in some ways can really cause harm. And so it's so cool that you were doing that as a little girl, just so naturally it came through you. And also, if you've spent years using breath in that way to bypass or to not connect in, but just to survive, then it has an impact. But then, yeah, so breath as a tool, just understanding it better is so important. Where did you get your breathwork training? Like, how did that become a thing?
Oh, gosh. I mean, from a past life. I'm just kidding. So
Yeah, it was there when you got here.
yes, right. I really did pursue it first through yoga teacher training, then yoga therapy training, then trauma-informed therapeutic breath work through Yoga on High up in Columbus, and just continuing to add my awareness, my own personal understanding, what was energizing, what was more restorative, what was sympathetic, what was parasympathetic. And depending on where we are in our nervous system in the first place, that this soothing breath actually might be agitating. This energizing breath might actually be too much. And so just that discernment of, where am I at? Tool. What do I need? Am I cool as I am, or would anything be supportive?
Yeah. I really like how you named that, because as I've been doing this deep dive into polyvagal theory lately, I have been so much more tuned into my own nervous system and where I am on my hierarchy, my autonomic hierarchy, and the ladder at any given time. And I've been paying attention to, like, all right, I'm taking a deep breath right now, but I'm in shutdown mode. And this kind of deep breath may not feel good in this dorsal vagal collapse. I may need a different kind of breath in order to move back up my ladder to activate, but not overly activate, because my goal is to get back to the top of the ladder, to that ventral vagal connection, and then behave, act, navigate my life from that space. Easier said than done, but certainly knowing which kinds of tools,
right?
Yeah, which kinds of tools to use when is so important.
So what's that new learning been like for you? What's it done for you just to go another layer deeper?
It has been eye-opening in a lot of ways. I had a conversation the other day that left me feeling not so great. Just like a brief in passing thing, right as my kids needed 27 things from me. So I had the feeling from the conversation Then my kids started bombarding me, and I had a big reaction to them, which I knew in that moment had nothing to do with them. And then I felt this little, like a switch turned off inside me, and something went, oh, like a balloon deflating, and it turned off, and it was like, okay, we're done.
Too much.
We're done. Too much.
Yep.
I want to go get in bed. I'm not going to, but I want to go get in bed. And I was like, oh, I just been reading about it. And I was
That's
like,
the clue.
oh, that's dorsal vagal collapse. I feel you. Oh, and I know that now's not a good time to collapse, but also I actually think I know what I can do, because mobilization is what helps us out of collapse. Yes. So as I stood there with my children engaging, I started doing squats.
Solid.
Yeah, they're used to this.
A little, yeah.
Whatever mom's doing, it's weird, but fine. And I started doing squats, and within a moment, I felt it come back online.
You felt what come back online?
I felt the energy pick back up. Yes. And I felt I shifted from a very closed off protective space into a, maybe I don't need to protect myself so much. A little bit more openness to connecting with my family, and to saying, you know what, this doesn't have to be the start of a deep dive into dorsal vagal shutdown. That was a dip into that space, into the bottom of the ladder, and I can feel my nervous system coming back online, and great. I didn't get stuck this time.
What freedom.
It is. Yeah, it was, because the rest of that night would have gone very differently with my kids.
Yeah.
With my whole family, if I had stayed in that shutdown space. And
everyone might have been left wondering what happened.
And there was also space for repair, right? Because what had started it to begin with wasn't meant to be negative. It's just the way I took it.
Yeah.
And that matters. And so I would have engaged very differently from that shutdown space.
Oh my gosh, right?
In all ways.
If you engaged at all.
True that, if I had engaged at all. So because I noticed and was tuned in and did something about it proactively in that moment that felt accessible to me, it changed the course of the evening for not just me, but my whole family. And that was really cool. And I have very realistic expectations for myself at this point. Sometimes I tune in and notice, and sometimes I catch it after the fact looking back. And one of the things that has changed hugely from our time working together is I don't hold judgment about that process anymore. That is so huge. Do well, don't do well, struggle, thrive. It's all okay. It's all just a part of the journey.
Because that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's what is. I'm remembering right now that you had planted the seed around creativity.
Yes.
That's the other piece that I think has been so huge. Setting down all the judgment as I tune in and recognize what is, but that lets creativity flow. And as I've said in past episodes, I didn't think I was a creative person.
I remember you saying that when we met for coffee.
Yeah. I'm not creative. Okay. Well, as it turns out,
I'm sitting with your blanket crocheted on top of my lap, and it's quite cozy. So
thanks. You're welcome. Working with the fabric arts, I've realized, is a kind of play for me. Creativity.
Tactile too,
yes.
huh?
Oh, yeah. I love the tactile stuff. Making pottery. But you know what's really cool is the creative flow in sessions and work with people. Oh. That was there, and I didn't recognize it as creativity.
So it's always been there. What's different about it now then? Is it the same, or has it changed a little?
Oh, the evolution has been huge. I don't know how much of it is mine and how much of it flows through me.
Same.
Oh, I like that. Okay, same. So my parts that were really burdened and really focused on the things they were burdened by needed to release those burdens in order to make space for creativity, for play. And so the work that I've been doing has opened up space, but I didn't set out to be more creative. I just started saying, crochet sounds interesting. I'd like to try that. Pottery sounds interesting. I'm going to give that a go. I just started opening up to experiences that have allowed me to have more mediums for creativity, which is so fun.
When we make space, it always gets filled by something. And it sounds like you are super intentional about just listening to little whispers of what do I like? What do I like when I'm not blah, 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 blah?
Yes, what has been filling the space has been not only like that form of creativity, but this podcast, right? And making videos, trying to share and create community around stuff that feels real and true. Okay, I'm thinking back to when I was younger, I used to watch Oprah a lot, like every day.
Every
That she
day.
was
That's
on.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would DVR when I was at work or in class or whatever.
She has a lot of topics, so it's
She,
much to catch.
yeah, I'm sure I didn't see all of them, but I liked how I felt when I watched her.
Oh, wow.
She shared so openly of herself. She was so free flowing with tears, with meaningful connections. Like when something touched her, she said it. And I loved being a part of that community. It felt safe. It just felt so good. And I realized just in recent days, as I've been thinking about this podcast and what I'm creating here and where I'm headed with it, that that's what I've been trying to do without realizing it, to create community that feels safe, that feels connected, that feels real and true and open to whatever is. That's where I've been lately. Thank you for letting me name that.
Anything else you want to say about that community that you're creating?
I know what it feels like to be in a space of disconnection, of overwhelm, where all I'm seeking is something that I can put on or expose myself to that soothes my soul, that makes my nervous system feel safe and like things are going to be okay. Even if I'm not like getting better in the moment, I just need that nurturing sometimes. And I love the idea of being able to put a body of work of connection out there where other people can do the same thing, where they can come and tune in when they're feeling like they're in struggle. They just don't know what's wrong, or they do know what's wrong. They don't know how to fix it. They can just come and have it be okay for a little bit. Yeah. A refuge.
What a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift. Yeah.
Thank you for helping me create this space.
Oh my gosh, we're just on this journey together, huh?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I'm glad I called this a conversation and not an interview, because the interviewing is mostly being done by you, and I love it. I love talking to you, and I so appreciate the questions you're asking.
Oh gosh, that's I think when we were first setting up with our tea and our raspberries and the rocks and our grounding practice, that we have similar parts in similar matching pictures of wanting to get it right and really deliver a quality product. And so just letting that settle to the background and just be with one another it feels easy. And that's one of those key indicators of just showing up. So thanks for holding the space.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I'm not done with you yet. I've got a few more questions I want to ask. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
I know it felt like it was naturally coming to an end, but you put so much incredibleness into this space. And I think people really benefit from having specific tools that they can use. And so I wanted to name some that were just so useful. First of all, skin boundary. I love the skin boundary.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit about that and what that is?
Well, without disparaging any constructs, I'll say that in 2020, I started somatic experiencing training the weekend of the lockdown. So that was just a very interesting time. And I got a lot of value out of that whole experience. What was put in the syllabus and then what was the experience. Both. And I was also left dissatisfied by approach to low energy states, because it's what I had seen in the VA. It's what I had experienced in myself. I was raised in a family, hardworking, strong work ethic, doers. We pivot and pivot and pivot again, right? This is just part of our mantra. And honoring rest is so important. There's so much about that right now. How I experienced it was just the low energy states of shutting down, where I could be highly productive, go, 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 and then collapse.
Yeah.
And then what happened in what I know now is the dorsal vagal was just I really lost my sense of self. And to understand how disconnected from ego, from self, like the perception of self it was deathly terrifying. And how people can feel that in a spectrum of experiences. But how I experienced it personally was that I was in that shame spiral, and that I was like out of a cannon. And then that's when I'm going to go clean the house, do a project, lay down 6 hours of work, just it was like out of a cannon. And that cycle, the polarization between high sympathetic, low parasympathetic, and just that polarization between the two created secondary exhaustion and wondering what's wrong with me. So relational trauma therapy training, Maretta Braunberg and Kolbjorn Vardal. It's a team out of Scandinavia. And so I trained with them for 4 years, understanding the hypostate in general, hypo-responsiveness, hypo-arousal. Then we got into disgust, which I realized was my main emotion and didn't really realize it. And then another year, really understanding both the dual parasympathetic and sympathetic aspects of shame. So you asked about the skin boundary, but it really comes back to when we're in that dorsal vagal, that you did the squats. Brilliant. Just bring up the energy a little bit. And when I was in that experience of dorsal vagal, just to create a boundary, just to remember that I have a container, I have a defined space, brought me back to my sense of self. My ego could be back online. My thoughts could be back very contained and give a sense of self rather than undifferentiated. And that's too much. That's too much. So that was the first boundary.
Oh, that makes so much sense to me. I appreciate you laying it out in that way, because skin boundary literally is you take your hands and you run them along your skin, every part of your skin, almost like you're washing yourself in the shower, but just with your hands. So running over your arms, your legs, the bottom of your feet, your face, all of it, in your hair, your scalp.
Oh, gotta move the wig. And that's the lymph system, the electricity, the fascia, the oxygen. I mean, just giving ourselves a sense of a container, then the emotions can move through, the thoughts can land, and just have a sense of I that's healthy, right? It's not too big, and it's also not missing. But just to bring up the energy slowly has been profound for me, and I needed to share it.
Thank you for sharing that. It's huge. I'm in the process of creating a list of things that you can do when you're in dorsal vagal shutdown to come out. Things you can do in sympathetic to come out of it. But I'm curious if you could talk a little more about just the idea of creating vagal tone.
So the vagus nerve, the soul nerve, is attuned to both things that are stressful and exuberant, right? Esma Medicum talks about in his book, My Grandmother's Hands, like when the spirit soars, that's the soul nerve, that's vagus nerve. When you get, my words now, you get gut punched, sucker punched, that's also vagus. And the vagal brake is the ability to slow down. The part that I find so fascinating about that slowing down is we really are back to energy conservationists, and understanding that, back up on my soapbox, that there's no amount of bootstrapping that can pull us out. There's no amount of vacuuming the house or tending to the 30 more emails or any of that gets us out. It's not the doing that gets us out of that collapse. It's just the connection.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I have written here, resourced and ready. That is something I also got from you. The idea of, I guess I'm connecting it back to the vagal tone, just in allowing our whole nervous system and our vagus nerve to be resourced, but not overly resourced, right? Tuning into what is and what it needs so that we can slow down or speed up accordingly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, in a flexible way without getting stuck.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm getting stuck. I think I'm not staying in my ventral vagal state lately at the top of the ladder, but I'm not getting stuck anywhere else. And when I notice, like I had so much energy before you got here because I was very excited. And we obviously grounded before we started, but I was also working on honoring the parts of me that were so excited and also a little nervous, but also saying, hey, you got a little more energy than you need. Like, how would you like for me to express this out of me? And just tuning into the parts.
What'd you get? Anything else come through?
I got an email done and my mom called. So I didn't actually get to do anything with what the parts suggested, but I've got a vibration board over there. I just got it. It is my new favorite tool. Man, what a difference it makes to just be able to step onto something that shakes your whole body, activates muscles, but also helps the lymphatic system drain and takes this energy and moves it out.
Love it.
Yeah, me too.
Have you incorporated it into a particular part of the day, or you just kind of go with the flow? Really, the question is, how have you incorporated it with your other tools?
You know, I'm realizing as you're saying that I don't have a lot of routine to my tools lately. So I see it and then I use it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to use it, but maybe having a little more structure, a little more routine might allow for a little more vagal tone lately or balance. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Such a good question.
I hear that curiosity around routine and also the space to be with what is, because let's face it, there's a lot happening in the world right now that a lot vying for our attention.
That it is.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, I realize we've been at this for a while and you may be tiring. I know I am. There is one more. I really like the I statement. And you mentioned in here about the neuroscience behind it, about speaking to ourselves in the first person and then the third person and then the first person. Is that fresh in your mind at all to talk about, or is that?
It is now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you're speaking to mantras, right? You're speaking to
Yeah.
our self-talk, specifically in the SCAR program. One of the ways we harness that mental energy is through mantra. And some people use affirmations, mantras, and some people don't. Some people say they don't work. And I offer an embodied approach and a neuroscience-backed approach to mantras that we got to meet ourselves in the moment. We can't be like listening to an influencer's mantra. I'm like, yes, I am amazing. It's like, yes, you are. However, does it fit? Like, does it match your energy that meet your energy today? And so I like to use that bridging, like mental health Mad Lib of pulling from our conscious mind, sourcing from our subconscious, bridging between the conscious and the subconscious, and just seeing what flows through. And when we do that, we use that mental health Mad Lib to, until now, I've been feeling X and I'm ready to blank. And when I do, I feel blank. And then that next drip of wisdom just sourced from the unconscious mind. Some would say subconscious mind, some would say that spirit, whatever. It's just that next wisdom is, we're not cogitating on it, right? Where it's just, blah, here it is, the nugget. Now, what I think is super cool is the neuroscience supports that we're so pro-social in our self-talk in our brain, that when we come up with the mantra, yesterday, since I took that national board exam, my mantras that came out when I was med ball slamming in this HIIT class, the mantra that came out was just, I take tests and I pass them.
Yeah.
I know shit and I share it. I didn't try. It just came out, right? And then I said, Jen, you take tests and you pass them. And I was like, I take tests and I pass them. And I just, the endorphins, the feelings, those neurochemicals just met the energy, the mental energy. And so I feel like Pete Walker and many other therapists talk about the cognitive aspect and the somatic aspect together is just really that magic. It's like, that's what we've been doing. Like, oh, right. So that is the magic of meeting the cognitive pathway with the somatic pathway and linking them, bridging them so that we believe our own stuff. And then could I take it a step further?
Please.
Awesome. So when we say our mantra, I take tests and I pass them, right? And say you take tests and you pass. I do take tests and I pass them. If we're in a position where it feels accessible to feel into any discord, any dissonance that isn't quite aligned with what we just connected to, that becomes the next wisdom piece. And for some, that could be too much, but I know that's what we're looking for that part, right? We're lovingly looking for that part that isn't quite yet aligned with what's been unearthed. And then we just say hello to it and we feel it. And maybe, we would then use our ABCs again to tend to and resource that place. We don't tell it to shut up and get in line. right?
Yeah. And we also don't say it doesn't work because part of me says they don't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because the fake it till you make it, I feel like, what if we just include the part that isn't quite aligned yet and say, oh, yeah, I hear you.
That's where the trailhead is.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity to head back to whatever that's about and welcome it into the fold.
Right?
Yeah.
There's space for you here.
There sure is. And it definitely feels different to say these things that are attuned to wherever we are at any given time, but not just to say I, to say, Rachel, you and I.
How's it been different for you? Because I know my experience and I see it kind of unfold, but I'd love to hear a difference for you.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because of the neuroscience, and I know that talking to myself or anyone talking to themselves in the third person has this powerful effect because we are pro-social beings, but it just feels like it carries more weight. Like it's not just me saying it to myself, but it is me having it said to me, even though it's by me. I don't know. It's very meta, but
Right.
it carries more weight.
There's more gravity. It carries more weight. There's something really there, isn't it?
So I'm going to give an example, and I'll just, because at peace is how I'm feeling right now, which is very much at odds with how I was feeling at the beginning. But I am at peace. Rachel, you are at peace. I am at peace. That feels good. Yeah. Really good. Thank you for helping me get here and for coming and sharing. This has been incredible.
Do you want to share any words about how you experience that sense of peace in your layers of energies to bring it full circle?
Yeah. It felt true before I said it. And then in the process of saying it, my energy picked up a little. And then after I finished saying it, it feels like it's settled, like nestled down into my cells.
And you're kind of shimmying.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a little shimmy
so
going
it's
on.
kind of like this landing deep, it seems.
Yeah, exactly what you said. The cognitive, the thought piece, and the somatic, the body coming together and having a felt sense of this thing that already felt true, but now feels even more true.
Yes.
Like I welcomed it in and I integrated it into my body and my system, just with my words.
Just with that wisdom, connecting the wisdom. So this is what I share in private practice with my individual clients, coaching clients as a holistic mental health nervous system coach. And this is what I share with my therapeutic clients in dual diagnosis organizations, clinics, and also what I share when I'm training or guiding experiential, transformative experiential presentations at conferences. I just believe in it so completely because there is something complete about it.
Yeah.
That I feel and what I see happen in the room. And that just evokes a sense of the energy is just flowing, it's aligned physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, just aligned. And that the more that we can do that together, I feel like in general, there has something medicinal about it, just doing this in community and continuing to shift that truth, that vibration together. What's the alternative, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And I know from my own experience working with you that the clients you work with, the people you train, they all get to feel this energy that I'm feeling right now with you, this shared space of authentic truth, but also more realization and recognition of who we are and how to take care of ourselves. I know that I've definitely gotten from you. And I'm wondering if people want to work with you. Are you open to taking clients at this point? And how do they find you if you are?
Thanks for asking that. I am open to receiving invitations for speaking, for training. My clients that I work with in the coaching side, almost all of them there's a readiness, right? There's a readiness to know themselves deeper, to work through those triggers, also build up their glimmers, to have a framework for their experience, to have words, right? And as you know, I often just share our community and refer people to trauma therapists. So I love to collaborate for care. It's one of the things I just think that I don't do this work alone, right?
Yeah.
The work works through me, and also I don't do it alone. So just to have that community build, I love collaborating for care, and also appreciate and enjoy the continuing education. So the trauma-informed lens that I bring is recognized by the state of Ohio and other avenues to bring that training to individuals and to groups. A main thing that I love is to present to groups, just for people to have that experience of this nervous system work, this energy work, but in a real concrete way.
Yeah.
So I also work with corporations, and like I did on Monday, and we create space. And now to hear that this group of strong women that have the mental load, and that they are also able to share it with their people and their teams. The women leaders, I mean, they are a team of 10 and each have a team of 50 under them, plus their mothers, and have aging parents. It just, they're badasses. And to hear so quickly that they had created a cohesive culture of trust, that they cue one another, that they come back to the ABCs and they check their nervous system for de-escalation. Oh my gosh, it was just, I was moved by their readiness and their adoption. So even in the corporate setting, it's just, we're just humans, right? And it's easier when we understand how we work and have tools to work it.
Totally. Right? That's part of why I'm doing this. I want everybody to have this information because, imagine if we lived in a world where everybody understood their nervous systems and were engaging accordingly. Yes. It would be a different world.
Well, a different world. Speaking of a different world, I'm really leaning into the energetic boundaries. So as I work with peers and professionals and executives, but really on the peer and professional level, talking about energetic boundaries, I've been leaning into my boldness of just bringing the science, but also the energy of specifically why energetic boundaries matter, how it's part of our ethical duty to check our resonance, check our residue. And before we come home, before we're, cooking dinner with our family, and then, cooking those thoughts right into the stew, that we can clear that. We don't have to carry that forward. But it's much more than putting it in a locked drawer box in a vault and setting it aside. Actually, we can clear the energy so that we have more space to do whatever you want.
Yes, to show up and live this life.
Yes.
Just be human.
Yes.
In whatever way you want to be human.
Yes.
Kat, your tail, your face.
She's loving being here with us. I love to be here.
She likes the energy. So do you have a website?
I do. Realhumanperformance.com. Real humans are not perfect, but we are resilient. So that's what you'll see on the front page. Realhumanperformance.com, and specifically the program, the SCAR program, is listed on there, and also has its own landing page at selfcareandresilience.com. All one word, selfcareandresilience.com. But also through you, finding you, people can find me too.
Yes, they can. Absolutely. And I'll put all of that in the show notes as well.
Fun.
Is there anything else that you feel called to share before we wind down?
Checking in. I have a real sense of completion. So I'm not going to force it. And just have that sense of completion. How about for you?
I feel that too. I feel a profound sense of gratitude to you, to us for creating this, but also to you for coming into my life and helping me in all of these ways, connecting with me and allowing me to connect, with myself and with the world in ways that I didn't have access to before I met you. So I wanted to thank you for that, and thank you for your time here today. It means the world to me.
I can't imagine being any other place. Just sharing this journey, and then the gift of being able to reflect on it has been really deeply meaningful to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been hard for me. I have not once asked listeners to follow, subscribe, or
let's
any
do
of
it.
that.
Let's do it.
But I was told I can do it in a loving way where it's not about selling. It's just about creating more space for connection.
I'll just, talk to me. Tell me, how are you going to say it?
I am going to invite everyone who is listening to lovingly, in whatever way feels right to you, if you feel called to, please follow, subscribe, share, so that people in your life, in the world, who might benefit from this community we're creating together can find us. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm here for it.
Me too.